Hello everyone, DonTheCrown here, back with another campaign guide, this time for the Lightning Cat Erika 2. This is arguably one of the most popular characters season to season, and I want to make a little leveling guide for you. Her hero trait is pretty much all about going fast and applying numbed, and we'll talk about that here shortly. We're going to be using Thunder Spike pretty much for the entirety of the campaign, and this is a skill that is a Shadow Strike skill. And what that means is once we get our very first support here, Haunt, this allows us to get +2 shadows. And what they do is pretty much these like ghosts that attack our target and they do damage. The first one does 100% of our base damage, and then the second one does 70% of our base damage, which is a lot of damage. Like our base damage as our normal hits this hard. So hitting all of them does do like kind of like shotgun damage together, which is really, really nice. This does make going and doing multi-target stuff a little bit difficult because the shadows will spread out and hit multiple enemies, but they also do kind of have a little bit of a, area of effect to the attack as well. So you can like mow down big groups of enemies as well. I'll say that Erika 2 is a okay leveler. She is a little bit more difficult than some other classes. And I think a big part of that for me kind of comes from the hero trait itself. And basically how the hero trait works is when it's orange like this, it means it's like primed to charge up, and you can activate it by either clicking it or by starting to move. And you're going to get these electrify stacks up here. And I believe baseline, you can have up to 3 stacks, but you need to move like 9 meters for that to happen. So you can see just by like normal walking, I did not get enough. But if I use a movement skill, we get 3 pretty easily. And the reason this is kind of difficult is because these stacks, you potentially can have the stacks fall off and you just use 1 movement skill while you're fighting a boss and you only get 1 stack. So one of the things I always kind of recommend here is when you are like about to move in a boss fight or something, is you just press F and your R button at the same time. So if you just press both of them together, you will get multiple stacks as opposed to just getting 1 stack. So you can get 3 stacks pretty consistently, and you just whirl 2 times. We are going to be going and using Goddess of Hunting. So we have Rushed, which we want to move like every 4 seconds anyways when we're fighting bosses. And so you just kind of want to stay on the move here. We're also going to be using Assassin. This is going to be getting a little bit of an upgrade this particular season with the Conductive here. It's pretty much making our numbed more effective because instead of being 10% additional damage, it's adding 5% additional lightning damage, which is like maybe a little bit more of a buff. We kind of have to see how these numbers actually work out in the real world. There's potential to be like a 25% more damage buff or a lot more damage than that. We'll kind of see how this actually scales and works in the real world, but we don't really need to worry about that for the campaign. Now, of course, we have a written guide over here on heroic.gg. And I'm not really going to go through all of this per se, because that's what the whole written guide is here for. But just going to go through some of the quick stuff here. We're going to be getting Scarlet Decree, Desire Survival, and those are pretty much, and Boom Gloves. Those are pretty much it for legendaries for us from the campaign. And we are an attack-based build, which means it is incredibly important that we upgrade our weapons consistently. Always be keeping your eye out on items that you pick up. You can see like the little item feed basically right where I'm sitting. If you see a weapon show up that is a up green arrow, just open your inventory, hover over it, make sure it's an upgrade, and then equip it. You get more damage. And it's just important to continue to do that so you can get some big upgrades. These are basically our finished links here, all the stuff there. And talk a little bit about the hero trait here as well. I go over all of the passive trees as well, including some of the updates to this. This should be updated for the new patch. Now, we do also have a new mechanic this season, which is Overrealm, and you're going to come across these like gates or doors, I guess you could say, as you're going through the campaign. And we're not really clear how good or bad these are going to be. So there's kind of a 50-50 chance here that you're going to activate the gate and a ton of monsters are going to come pouring out and absolutely just stomp you into the earth. And then if you actually manage to kill them, they might not give a lot of loot and rewards and XP, or it could potentially be very balanced and fair and provide a lot of loot and rewards. It could really go either kind of way with these types of mechanics. But one of the things that you can see is after you clear out all the mobs, this gate here will either disappear or it will open up and you can go and interact with it a second time. This lets you go over into the Overrealm, which is kind of like a, I guess, evil version of the world. And there's supposedly a lot of monsters and rewards in there. We don't really know how rewarding that's going to be in the campaign. My personal recommendation would be like interact with it maybe the first time you see it. And if it is super duper amazing, continue to do it through the campaign. We don't really have a ton of great legendaries anyways from our treasure troves. So using this to farm up gear or experience is probably an okay thing to do in lieu of like resetting a treasure trove for the third time. But definitely just keep an eye on it. Like it could really be either way. We won't know until the launch. Now, in terms of step-by-step leveling, I have all of this stuff in here, so you can kind of like have an idea of how everything goes here in terms of step-by-step, all the different treasure troves, like when you're going to be getting gear. We're also getting Desire Survival, which is really nice as well. There is Berserker Bracer gloves in the campaign as well, which I think are pretty decent, but we're end up using Boom gloves at the end. These Boom gloves are pretty nice. They give us some flat damage, and if you have the Paralysis Pack Spirit, this can basically trigger a ground shaker every 1.5 seconds, which can do a nice little boost of damage, which is, you know, just good thing for us to have. This written guide will be linked down in the description down below. And yeah, I think Erika 2 has a good potential to be a very strong build this season, especially because, you know, she's pretty much always a very strong build and she ends up being very fast. A lot of her hero traits later on scale with her damage, with her movement speed. And so there's kind of two things that you like to scale up in terms of a character in endgame. Like if you can scale your defenses into damage, that's great. But the second best is if you can scale your movement speed into damage. So scaling up movement speed and just running super duper fast is pretty cool. You'll see a lot of spellcaster type of builds, probably like spell burst. But this build probably won't compete with Bing 2 with some of their key items, simply because you're going to be using things like the helmet here that gives you like spell burst charges when you are like using other skills, and you typically want to have low spell burst charges for that, which is not something that Bing 2 really wants to do. So it'd probably be a mostly okay build in terms of prices. Some of the things might be a little bit more expensive there. Hopefully this video helped you out. Hopefully the written guide helps you out. If you have any questions, come by the stream, and thanks so much. Appreciate you.